The message came in just as I wrapped up the final merger documents for a tech acquisition. It was December 22nd, the Chicago skyline glittering beyond my office windows like 1,000 silent witnesses to everything I'd built. Family dinner is this Saturday, Olivia. Your brother Andrew is bringing his fiancée. She's a TV anchor now. You understand it's probably best you sit this one out, right? Image matters. Love, Mom. I stared at the text, blinked, then smiled, tight-lipped, equal parts amused and exhausted. 15 years, and still nothing changed. Even after everything I'd accomplished, they still saw me as the outlier. What my family didn't know was that the freelance analyst they barely acknowledged had become Olivia Hayes, CEO of Evermore Strategies, the consulting powerhouse quietly influencing billion-dollar decisions across 3 continents. My assistant's voice crackled through the intercom. Ms. Hayes, the executive team from Valor Technologies is ready for the call. Thank you, Madison, I replied, straightening the navy silk blazer that everyone in my family still assumed I'd thrifted. Let them. I liked the irony. 15 years ago, I'd walked away from our Kansas farmhouse after refusing a cushy role at Hayes and Son Holdings, the family firm. You're being ridiculous, my father had thundered. You think you know better than all of us? Andrew had laughed from his leather chair, arms folded across his custom monogrammed dress shirt. Let her. She'll come crawling back. I never did. Instead, I moved to Chicago with a used laptop, a cracked iPhone, and a vision no one else could see. I worked from coffee shops, basements, borrowed office space. I took freelance gigs at first, then small contracts, then bigger ones. I sacrificed comfort, sleep, even relationships, but never the dream. Today, Evermore Strategies held controlling interests in several firms Hayes and Son relied on to operate. Their proud empire didn't realize the firm they were desperately trying to align with had been mine all along. There was a knock. Madison stepped in, holding a thick folder. The contract from Hayes and Son is ready. It just needs your signature. I stared at the embossed letterhead. So they needed help after all. I picked up the pen, then paused. Actually, Madison, cancel it. She blinked. Cancel the contract? I smiled. Yes. And merry family dinner. The irony tasted better than any holiday wine. For the past 6 months, Hayes and Son Holdings had been scrambling to finalize a strategic alliance with Evermore. Their European ambitions depended on it. What they didn't know was that their future was being negotiated with the daughter they cast aside. My email pinged. A new message from Andrew. Hey Liv, Mom said you're skipping dinner. Don't make a thing out of it. You know how she is about appearances. Mel's career is pretty public, and, well, maybe once you're established, things will be different. Once I'm established? I glanced at the multi-million-dollar deal on my desk, the signature that would control the market entry Hayes and Sons so desperately needed. My phone buzzed again. Madison peeked in. Your father's on Zoom. He wants to confirm tomorrow's contract ceremony. I nodded and joined the call. Olivia Hayes speaking. Hey there, my father said, chipper, all formality. A far cry from the man who once told me I was wasting my potential on pipe dreams. Just checking, he added. Everything's set for tomorrow, right? This deal is crucial. I thought of the dinners I wasn't invited to, of Andrew's patronizing messages, of Mom's polite distance. Actually, Mr. Hayes, I said coolly, I've been reviewing the terms. I have some concerns. Concerns, he stammered. But everything was approved. Things change, I replied. I'd like to discuss it in person. Please bring the whole family to the signing. Hayes and Son is a family company, after all. Of course, he said, but his voice faltered. Just, Olivia's not involved. I smiled. All your children, Mr. Hayes. Understood? He nodded slowly. Understood. The next morning, I arrived at the 47th floor at 6 a.m. sharp. The conference room gleamed. Floor-to-ceiling views of the frozen lake framed fresh orchids, imported leather chairs, and walnut tables buffed to perfection. Your family just arrived, Madison said. Shall I bring them up? I looked in the mirror. Gone were the cozy cardigans and flats they remembered. Today, I wore a tailored Armani charcoal suit, Louis Vuitton pumps, and my grandmother's Cartier watch, the one she gave me when I left home, the only one who ever believed in me. Let them wait, I said. I'll make an entrance. 20 minutes later, I stepped into my private elevator. My phone buzzed. Olivia, your father says this is important. Don't embarrass us. I smiled faintly. Through the glass walls of the conference room, I saw them. Dad pacing and Mom smoothing Andrew's tie. Melanie practicing her camera-ready smile. I nodded to Madison. She opened the doors. Ladies and gentlemen, may I present Ms. Olivia Hayes, CEO of Evermore Strategies. The room froze. Mom's champagne flute slipped and shattered. My father went pale. Andrew's jaw slackened. Good morning, I said calmly, taking my seat at the head of the table. Shall we begin? This is absurd. My father blurted. You're a consultant, aren't you? I placed a sleek black folder on the table. According to these documents, I'm the CEO of the firm you've been trying to partner with. The senator on their board sat up straighter. Wait, what? I turned to Melanie. I was going to be properly introduced at family dinner. But, well, I wasn't invited. Something about preserving appearances. Olivia, sweetheart, my mother began, her voice trembling. This is a misunderstanding. Is it? I interrupted. I tapped the screen beside me. Her message lit up on the wall. Then Andrew's. Then my father's string of begging emails to Evermore's anonymous CEO. The room went silent. These aren't the original terms, Dad said, flipping through the contract in panic. No, they're not, I said. I made revisions. I've had 15 years to decide how this moment would go. You can't do this, he snapped. We have expansion plans. Investors are counting on this. Like I had plans when I started this company alone. Like I counted on my family. That was different, Mom said. We just wanted to protect you. No, I said. You wanted to protect your image. I turned toward the glass. Congratulations. Today, the world finds out who the Hayes family really is. I stood, slowly, adjusting the cuff of my blazer. The partnership is off. What? Andrew gasped. Evermore is acquiring Valor Technologies directly. That cuts off your access to the European market. My father sank into his chair. The weight hit him all at once. You can't do this, he murmured. We're family. I paused at the door. Funny. Because just yesterday, I wasn't family enough for dinner. And then I left. The fallout came swiftly, voicemails, emails, messages that blurred the line between apology and desperation. Olivia, we're still your parents. Please, can we meet just us? You're ruining everything. I didn't respond. Evermore completed the acquisition. Hayes and Son stock began its slow, humiliating fall. News outlets had a field day. Midwest legacy firm loses key alliance. Emerging giant Evermore reshapes consulting industry. A week later, Madison appeared at my door. Your brother's downstairs. Alone. There was no entourage and no fiancé. I glanced at the security feed. Andrew looked tired. His posture sagged. His eyes were hollow. The suit was still tailored, but the pride was gone. Send him up. He stepped into the office slowly, eyes scanning the space he never imagined I'd command. Nice office, he said. Bigger than mine ever was. What do you want, Andrew? He exhaled. Melanie left me. Said I no longer fit her brand. I raised an eyebrow. Dad's drinking again. The boards rattled. Mom won't go to the country club. He looked at me, pain etched deep. Everything's falling apart. Because of me? I asked. No, he said. Because we built everything on appearances. And I treated you like you weren't good enough. I'm sorry. Really? Can you ever forgive me? I held his gaze. Forgiveness isn't the issue, Andrew. Trust is. And that's something you'll have to earn. Before he could respond, the door opened again. My parents stormed in. Olivia, my father snapped. Enough. You've proven your point, my mother said, tears already welling. We see you now. I stared at them both. This isn't about revenge, I said. It's about consequences. "You're our daughter," my father cried. "You treated me like a PR liability," I said. "And now you want redemption because your perfect narrative is crumbling." My father stepped forward. "Just tell us, board seats, compensation, apology, what do you want?" "I don't want anything," I replied. "Not from you. Not anymore." I pressed the intercom. "Madison, please escort our guests out. And update the security list." "Olivia, please," Mom whispered. "It's almost family dinner." "Tell me," I said, pausing, "am I acceptable enough for the guest list now?" Silence. I turned away. As the door shut behind them, I sat quietly, watching the city glitter. Then a message buzzed on my phone. From Aunt Margaret. "Heard everything. Your grandmother would be proud. Family dinner at my place. Real family." I smiled. Because sometimes family isn't defined by blood. It's the people who believed in you before anyone else did. I placed my grandmother's old leather business card holder next to my nameplate. A quiet reminder. You don't need their seat at the table. Build your own. And when they knock on your door, you'll know what to do. 2 months later, Chicago remained frozen in winter's grip, but inside Evermore's headquarters, things were heating up. Our recent acquisitions had doubled our influence. Headlines celebrated us as the quiet titans of strategy, and competitors were scrambling to copy moves they couldn't see coming. But not everything was smooth. When legacy power crumbles, the old guard doesn't go quietly. "Olivia," Madison said, stepping into my office with a hesitant look, "you're not going to like this." I sighed, closing the report on our next expansion. "What now?" She handed me a thin envelope, hand-delivered, gold embossed. I recognized the crest before she said it. Hayes and Son Holdings. Inside was a formal invitation. "You are cordially invited to the 50th anniversary gala of Hayes and Son Holdings. To honor 5 decades of excellence in business, family, and legacy. Keynote address by Andrew Hayes, newly appointed president. Family is the foundation of business success. We celebrate ours proudly." There was a handwritten note at the bottom. "We'd love to rebuild, Liv. Be there." Mom, I stared at the card. Rebuild? This wasn't a reunion. It was an ambush wrapped in crystal and champagne. "They're trying to reclaim the narrative," Madison said quietly. "Pretend everything's fine. Pretend you never brought them to their knees." Of course they are. But I wasn't angry. Not anymore. I was ready. "I'm going," I said. Madison blinked. "You sure?" I smiled. "Absolutely. Let's give them something real to celebrate." The Hayes and Son 50th Anniversary Gala was held at the Drake Hotel's Grand Ballroom. The chandeliers sparkled. The floor was lined with politicians, old money, journalists, and donors who didn't realize the company they were toasting had been gutted from the inside out. I arrived fashionably late. Every head turned when I stepped into the room wearing a midnight blue Vera Wang gown, hair swept into a sharp chignon, a diamond-studded Evermore pin fastened at my shoulder. Madison followed behind me in a black silk suit, iPad in hand. Andrew saw me first. His eyes widened slightly, then he walked toward me with a well-rehearsed smile. "Olivia," he said. "You came." I did. He leaned in. "Can we talk after the speeches?"
I meant what I said last time.
"I'm trying." "You'll have your chance," I replied coolly. From the podium, my father tapped the mic. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us as we celebrate the enduring legacy of Hayes and Son Holdings, a company built on family values, resilience, and vision." He went on, painting a portrait of legacy that was equal parts fantasy and PR stunt. I watched silently until... "And now I'd like to introduce my son, Andrew Hayes, our newly appointed president, who embodies the next generation of Hayes excellence." Polite applause filled the room. Andrew stepped up, poised.
"Thank you, Dad."
"And thank you all for being here to witness our continued evolution. Hayes and Son has always been about family." I stepped forward. My heels clicked against the marble floor, slicing through his words like glass. Whispers swept across the ballroom. Andrew faltered. Please welcome my sister, Olivia Hayes." A polite golf clap. Confused looks. I took the mic. Thank you, Andrew. I'll be brief. I scanned the room, then locked eyes with my father and mother. 2 months ago, I sat across from many of you in boardrooms you didn't realize were owned by Evermore Strategies. I watched Hayes and Son beg for a lifeline. I watched them try to preserve a legacy built not on family, but on facade. A gasp rippled through the room. Some of you know me as Olivia Hayes. But in business, I am the founder and CEO of Evermore, the firm that, until recently, your hosts tried to quietly absorb to save themselves. I turned slightly toward the crowd, my voice clear and steady. Tonight is not a celebration of strength. It's a memorial for an illusion. And I will not let my name be used to sell lies. My mother stood abruptly, trembling. Olivia, please not here. This is a family night. No, I said sharply. It's a branding exercise. Let's not pretend. Andrew stepped forward, voice soft. I told them this would happen. I said you'd see through it. You didn't stop it, I said. He dropped his gaze. I looked back out at the stunned room. But I'm not here for revenge. I'm here for the truth. Because power built on pretense is already crumbling. And legacy? Legacy is earned, not inherited. I dropped the mic on the podium and walked off the stage, silence trailing behind me like a royal train. They caught up with me in the corridor. Olivia. My father's voice cracked. You humiliated us. No, I said, spinning to face him. I told the truth. You should try it sometime. You ruined our name. You ruined it by treating your daughter like a liability. My mother's eyes glistened. Olivia, we invited you here. We're trying. You invited me to be part of a photo op, I said. But I don't belong in your fantasy. You're still our child, she whispered.
No.
I'm still your mirror. And you don't like the reflection. They had no words. Later that night, I sat on my penthouse balcony overlooking Lake Michigan, a mug of tea in hand. Madison sat beside me, still in her suit, legs tucked under her. Well, she said, sipping wine. You sure know how to clear a room. Good, I replied. My phone buzzed. A new message. From Andrew. You were right. About all of it. I resigned tonight. I'm starting something new.
For real this time. No pretending.
I hope we can talk again, eventually. And when you're ready, maybe I can earn that trust. I didn't reply. Not yet. But a part of me, buried deep under the armor, felt the shift. He had shown up not as a brother in power, but as a man ready to rebuild. From scratch. Like I once did. Maybe someday I'd answer. But tonight, I wasn't looking back. Because the seat I built, it was more than a chair at the table. It was a throne I forged in fire, and it no longer needed anyone's permission to exist. 6 months later, Olivia Hayes had become a name whispered in boardrooms, headlined in financial publications, and typed into recruiting databases by every top university MBA program in the country. Evermore Strategies wasn't just thriving, it was transforming the consulting world. They called it the Hayes Effect. Bold, precise, unflinching. CEOs took notice.
So did DC.
It began quietly, an inquiry from the Commerce Committee about Olivia testifying before Congress on AI ethics and economic disruption. Then came invitations, Forbes' Women in Power, Bloomberg's Visionary Summit, and eventually, an offer to speak at MIT's Sloan Conference. But with power comes exposure. And exposure draws shadows. Madison entered Olivia's office one June morning, uncharacteristically tense. Liv, I have something you need to see. She handed her a manila folder. Inside, redacted documents, a leaked internal memo, and screenshots from a secure Slack channel. The leak came from inside. And worse, it wasn't just a leak. A senior Evermore partner had been secretly feeding information to Hayes and Son Holdings, and his name was Colin Price. A well-respected partner, Ivy League charm, legacy connections. The kind of man who could have coasted quietly to the C-suite if Olivia hadn't broken the old mold. He's planning a quiet buyout offer, Madison said. backed by a consortium including 3 former Hays board members. They think if they create enough internal chaos, you'll cave. Olivia sat very still.
I won't cave, she said.
I know, Madison replied, but Colin thinks you'll crack. The following week, Olivia convened a closed-door meeting with Evermore's senior leadership team. The core allies. The ride or dies. I'm not just fighting an internal leak, she told them. I'm fighting everything we came here to dismantle: legacy bias, patriarchal protectionism, and inherited entitlement disguised as strategy. We stand with you, said Dana, the firm's head of policy and Olivia's first hire. We didn't join Evermore for safety. We joined for change. Olivia nodded. Then we move fast. And we move loud. In the span of 2 weeks, Olivia executed a countermove worthy of chess legends. 1, she preemptively published a transparency report on Evermore's core ethics, disarming the leak's potential PR damage. 2, she quietly acquired a rival firm one Colin had already begun discussions with, cutting off his external funding source. 3, and most powerfully, she exposed the leak herself. At a full firm-wide virtual town hall, Olivia laid the truth bare: screenshots, evidence, betrayal. Colin watched in horror from the screen as Olivia calmly said, "At Evermore, transparency isn't optional. Accountability isn't negotiable. Colin Price has violated both. Effective immediately, he is no longer with the firm." He was escorted out of the building 2 hours later. There was no lawyers and no severance. Only legacy dismantled. But Colin's damage lingered. A few clients paused contracts. Media outlets speculated. Some whispered that Olivia's time at the top had created too much heat. Then came the call from the White House transition team. Olivia was on the shortlist for Deputy Secretary of Commerce, with plans to eventually nominate her as secretary. The youngest in modern history. Prestige. Influence. Power on a national scale. And the irony? She'd now outranked every Hays before her, publicly, permanently. But before she could decide, she had to face one final meeting. Not business. Not public. Personal. Andrew reached out, again. This time, with something Olivia hadn't expected. A request for her help. "I started my own company," he said over coffee, humble for once. "It's small.
Scrappy.
But real." Olivia raised a brow. "You're not looking for funding."
No, he said.
"I'm looking for guidance. For accountability. I want to build it the right way. Like you did." She studied him, this brother she once saw as everything wrong with legacy. Now stripped of his armor. Asking, not taking. "You hurt me," she said plainly. "Not just once. For years." "I know," he said, voice cracking. "And I'll never undo it. But I want to do right now." She hesitated. Then finally said, "Okay. But this isn't a favor. You earn your way like everyone else." He nodded, grateful. Later that week, Olivia sat alone in her penthouse, overlooking the lake once more. Her phone buzzed. Mom, calling. She didn't answer. Then the message. "We saw the Commerce shortlist. Your father and I are proud." Even if we were too late to say it out loud. Olivia stared at the message. Then deleted it. Some bridges aren't burned. They're simply left behind. In D.C., she sat before Congress in a sleek navy suit, flanked by experts and scholars. Her voice, clear and unwavering, filled the chamber. The future of American business isn't in what we preserve, it's in what we dare to reimagine. We don't need to be custodians of outdated power. We can be architects of something entirely new. Applause followed. Senators nodded. Cameras clicked. And Olivia Hays, once the odd one out, was no longer in anyone's shadow. She had become the light. A year later, as Evermore opened its new innovation campus in Denver, Olivia stood before her entire team. 100 strong now. She glanced down at the stage's edge. Sitting there was her grandmother's old leather card holder, a quiet reminder of beginnings.
She took the mic.
"I used to think I had to prove myself to those who overlooked me. But I learned something far more valuable. You don't need their permission to lead. You don't need their legacy to be legendary. Build your own. And one day, when they ask how you did it, smile and say, by not waiting for a seat at your table. I built my own damn table. The crowd rose in thunderous applause. And Olivia? She didn't smile for the cameras. She smiled for herself. Because peace isn't quiet, it's earned clarity. Years later, Olivia declined a presidential appointment. Not because she wasn't qualified, but because her life's mission had already been fulfilled not by title or power, but by creating a space where underestimated people could rise without apology. She mentored young founders. She invested in women-led startups. And every year, she held a private dinner. Not for show, not for headlines, but for the family. She chose those who'd been dismissed, overlooked, underestimated, and rose anyway. They called it the Reclaimed Table. And on a bronze plaque above the door, it read, "You don't need their table. Build your own. And one day, they'll wish they had a seat."